大家好，欢迎收听今天的早安英文，我是卡拉。
I'm Peter. How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on the show.
So you're based in Changsha now?
Yep, that's right. You can come check out my gym sometime. Just look up CrossFit Aftershock on WeChat locations or Baidu Maps. Also, you can find my music on 网易云音乐 using keywords 中文字皮特龙，调皮的皮，特别的特 ，dragon 的龙。
我已经去听过了。
Really?
大家一定要去听一听，好吗？
我还好啊。
你知道去了我们很多的粉丝吗？就很多说早安英文打卡，皮特龙加油。
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today?
So today we're going to be talking about the difference between in the street and on the street.
这个真的是一个 headache， 就非常非常 confusing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in or at school, 是吧？ Just like prepositions, right?
Exactly. Gotta love prepositions.
I hate them. They're hard to remember which one to use. At, in, 还有 on.
Yeah, well, I can understand why it's difficult. Well, hopefully this lesson will help clarify. Let's first start with the sentences in the street and on the street. So we say in the street when we're actually standing in the middle of the street, or when something is in the middle of the street. So for example, I was driving and turned a corner and out of nowhere a deer was in the street. So yeah, no, it happens all the time in America, especially in like the north.
Okay.
So this is an example of in the street.
那就是说如果你用的是 in the street 呢，就是表示在马路的中央，通常呢表示说在马路中间发生了一些什么样的事情。那比如说你还可以讲这个 children shouldn't play in the street， 就是孩子们不要在马路中间玩耍。
Perfect. So now we use the preposition on the street to describe a location that is not physically in the middle of the street, but is probably on the side of the street, or even a house or a building beside a specific street.
那这个时候呢，就是更多的时候是强调这个location， 强调一个地点，或者说讲什么东西呢在马路的旁边。那通常呢我们讲说这家店在马路的旁边，或者说我在这个马路旁边等你。举个例子，你可以讲 She lives somewhere on the street, I'm sure， 就是我确定她住在这条街上。那这个时候呢你是强调这个地点，那么就用 on the street。
Yes, so that is a perfect example of on the street. So or you could say pick me up in 5 minutes, I'll be on the street waiting for you. So this meaning really means that I'll be probably on the side of the road waiting to be picked up, not actually in the middle of the street.
你不会站在马路中央去等他，你在马路旁边等他。这个时候呢你就讲 I'll be on the street waiting for you.
Yeah, although I have seen people waiting in the middle of the street in China before, which is pretty interesting.
好，那我还听说过，就是有人讲一个短语叫做 on the streets， 就是在那个 street 后面再加一个 s on the streets， 那这个什么意思呢？
Okay, so on the streets kind of means like in a rough neighborhood or in the ghetto part of a city. So when I say rough, I mean like poverty levels are higher than a suburb. So suburb being like a town, and like usually the ghettos in like a city. So the word streets becomes the meaning of like inner city ghetto. So for example, life was really hard on the streets, but I learned a lot of life lessons and became a tougher person because of it.
所以这个时候 on the streets这个短语呢，它就是表示 ghetto 这个词就是贫民窟嘛，就是一些经济状况非常不好的地方，非常贫穷的一些地方，所以 on the streets 呢就是表示这种地方。
Yeah, good explanation. So if I grew up on the streets and learned a lot of life lessons, became a tougher person, it means that I grew up maybe in a poor neighborhood and probably had to face some kind of difficulties like gangsters or criminals like threatening to rob me or cause some kind of harm to me, or there's always like some kind of danger lurking around the corner. So
对，所以就 learn a lot of life lessons.
Yes.
就是通常那些经济状况不是太好的地方呢，一些这个安全措施也会不太好啊，所以呢，经常会碰到一些，比如说打劫啊，还有一些小偷啊等等一些问题，所以呢 learn a lot of life lessons. 好的 ，let's move on.
Okay, so there's some other good prepositions to learn in the phrases, like in or on. Like, for example, in your mind and on your mind. So,
这个真的更烦人。
so for example, I have something in my mind means like I have an idea. And the question, what's on your mind, Kara, is a question that you would ask to see what someone else is thinking.
是不是这个点啊？这个关键点是在于 if you're worried about that thing. 就是如果说 I have something on my mind, 就是 I actually am worrying about that thing.
Yeah,
That
so
person.
maybe if I see you like biting your nails or like staring off in the distance, I could be like, hey, Kara, what's on your mind? You know, talk to me.
但是如果说 I have something in my mind, 就是很简单的，你脑子里面有什么想法，有什么 idea， 所以呢，他们的关键点啊，就是 on my mind 表示你对这个东西有点忧虑，有点担忧。但是如果 in my mind 就是单纯的有一个想法。
Oh, I have one more. Out of my mind. For example, I can't get this song stuck out of my head. It's been on my mind all the time. I can't get it out of my mind.
就是让他就不要想这件事情，让他搞出我的脑子。所以呢，刚刚讲说 this song stuck in my head， 就是说这首歌啊，就是一直在我的脑子里面挥之不去。
And then lastly, a preposition could be like in the paper and on the paper.
Okay.
So in the paper would literally mean that what was written in the newspaper, like its content.
就是写在这个纸里面。
Yeah. So for example, I saw an article in the paper about your new CrossFit gym. And on the paper would mean like you could say on the front page of the newspaper, or I'll first say an example sentence. My CrossFit gym was on the front page of the paper. So similar to I was on the news last night. And then lastly, if we say on the paper, for example, oh, the pen is on the paper. So that on means physically on.
好，那首先呢 in the paper 是说在纸里面，什么情况下在纸里面呢？就是有东西写在这个纸上面嘛，或者说东西打印在这个纸上面，所以它就变成纸里面的内容了。这个时候用 in the paper， 所以比如说报纸上面的这个新闻啦，我们讲是 in the paper。那 on 呢？两种情况啊，第一种呢，如果说是在这个 front page， 就是在这个首页头条，这个时候我们讲 on the paper， 它的这个含义呢，就相当于 on the news， 上新闻了，上报了这种感觉。或者呢，你也可以讲说这支笔啊，或者说这个杯子啊，在这张纸上面，所以它就是这个一个物理的位置，我们可以讲 on the paper。
Yes, perfect. So it all kind of depends on these little intricacies. So in time, you will just get a feeling for the right preposition to use. But even if you don't use the right preposition, foreigners will always be able to understand what you're trying to say. Like, a lot of people make the mistake of in the bus or in the plane or on the car, stuff like that.
That just sounds funny.
Yeah, they're just small mistakes. But just to let you know, the right way to say it is like on the plane, on the bus, and in the car.
然后呢，有的时候觉得说要解释的好像也没有什么一定的道理，但是呢，大家就是要注意这个搭配是 on the plane 在飞机上 ，on the bus 在公交车上 ，in the car 在车里面。所以如果说真的介词使用错误的话呢，可能对方也能理解你是什么意思，但是你慢慢的就能找到这个感觉，每个介词它分别代表一个什么内在的含义。
Yeah, so well, hopefully you guys learn how to use some of these prepositions and apply them to your daily language practice.
Hello, welcome to Morning English. 早安英文呢是一个为大家免费提供英语教学的频道，每天都会更新。如果你想获得关于英语、 听说读写的内容，我们都会在这个频道更新。我们的目标是帮助全球的华人学好英语。如果你觉得还不错的话，记得给我们订阅哦。另外，点开小铃铛，这样的话就不会错过其他任何学习视频啦。对了，如果你想获取本节课的完整版笔记，在视频简介或者评论区领取哦。你也可以给这个视频点赞，点赞就相当于自动保存啦。
Well, thanks for coming on the show today.
You are very welcome. My pleasure. And I'll see you guys next time on the Morning English Podcast.
我们下期见，拜拜。
Bye-bye.